is the capacity building initiative of SEBI. We at NISM conduct a wide range of activities at various levels with the objective of improving quality standards in the securities markets. At NISM, we work in five broad areas: long and short term academic programs, certifications for market intermediaries, e learning programs, training programs for working professionals and academia, and various investor education initiatives. Today's webinar topic is Stories to Address Grid Fear While Investing by Mr. Satish Prabhu. Satish Prabhu is the Vice President and Head of Products and Content at Franklin Templeton Asset Management India Private Limited since 12 years. Prior to FT, he worked for 8 years with CRISIL Limited and for over 7 years with the Stock Holding Corporation of India Limited. He is an avid blogger and has written over 450 blogs on the basics of investing under the title Money Ki Baat. He is greatly inspired by the book Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel and feels that investors can create wealth not by investing more money but by improving their behavior with money. He also speaks at various investor education forums, conducts knowledge sharing sessions, webinars, podcasts for investors, advisors, relationship managers, corporates, among others. Now, I would request Satish sir to begin with the session.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I'm audible and my screen is visible, right? Am I audible? Can you confirm?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you so much. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today for this webinar on where I'm going to tell you a few stories and connect those stories to investing. Now, your question will be why? Why do I tell? What is the need to tell stories? What is the need to tell stories? So, I can tell you an incident when I joined my current company, Franklin Templeton, as head of content. And the first thing my boss told me was that whatever you write, has to be very simple because, while today a lot of people invest in mutual funds, I wouldn't say that number is very big, but still a lot of people invest in mutual funds compared to what it was 12 years ago. So he had told me that mutual funds is not understood by many. So it is very important that whatever you write as content, it has to be very, very simple. And as simple that even your grandparents, if you show them your content, they also should be able to understand it. It should be as simple as that. And here's Albert Einstein's quote, which says that if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. So the content explanation has to be simple enough. And then I thought that how do you make investing very simple? How do you make people understand investing? While there is a lot of theory to investing, I felt that stories is a good way to connect because all of us, as grown-ups, we still remember some of the stories that our grandparents would have told us, our parents would have told us, and that sticks to our mind. Or any movie, even if we have watched a good movie 30 years ago, we will still remember the story of that movie. We may not remember the dialogues, but we will remember the story. So stories are very, very powerful if you want people to remember what is said. And that's the reason I thought that let me tell stories and then connect it to investing so that people remember the principles of investing that they need to know. So the first story I will start off with is the Lord and the Sweeper. Now, there is a temple and there is a sweeper in the temple who cleans the temple every day. And every day he has only one grouse. He goes to the Lord every day and says that, Lord, you're so lucky. You don't have to do any work like me. I have to slog it out the whole day. And, whatever I get paid, it doesn't last me for the whole month as well. The money runs out in about 20-25 days. And the last 4 to 5 days, I'm left, without much money. But you're so lucky. You don't work. You just stand there. People come, they offer you, food, they offer you, chappan bhog and, all sorts of delicacies. And they put money in your, offering box and all of that. So you're so lucky. And I wish I could, be like you where I don't have to do anything. And the Lord, every day, this guy, he keeps saying the same thing every day. And one day the Lord gets tired and says that, okay, if you like what I do so much, let us do one thing. Let us exchange positions. You become the Lord and I will become the sweeper. But for one day, I will give you this chance for one day where we will exchange roles. So the sweeper is delighted. He says that, okay, wow, this is such a great offer that you have made. I don't mind doing this at least for one day. I will enjoy the good food and I'll get all the money that you get. So the Lord says there is one condition that when we exchange positions, you have to stand in my position without saying anything the way I do. I just listen, right? I don't say anything. I just listen. So you have to only listen and don't say anything and complete that whole day. And then again, you can become the sweeper and I become the Lord. So the next day, they decide to exchange positions. The next day morning, the Lord is the sweeper and the sweeper becomes the Lord. Now, first comes in the temple, comes a rich man. And the rich man, prays to the Lord and says, Lord, I have set up a few factories, give me more business and, all the typical things that he would have said for prosperity, etc., etc. And before he leaves, he bows down to the Lord to say thank you, and he leaves the temple. Now, when he leaves the temple, he drops his wallet in the temple. Without him knowing, he just drops his wallet in the temple and he doesn't know about it. After the rich man comes a very, very poor man, and he tells the Lord that, Lord, see, I don't have anything at home. I don't have food to eat. I've got a family at home. Please help me. Do something. Please help me. I don't have any money. And he closes his eyes and bows before the Lord. And the moment he opens his eyes, he sees a wallet full of money in front of him. Now, that's the wallet that was dropped by the rich man, but this poor man doesn't know about it. Now he feels that his prayers have been answered by the Lord. And he picks up the wallet, he finds a lot of cash in the wallet, and he says, thank you, Lord. I didn't know that you would answer my prayers so quickly. And he leaves the temple. Third comes a sailor. Now, the sailor is going to the ship for the next 6 months. And typically, these sailors, they are on the ship for 6 months and they are at home for 6 months. So the sailor, prays to the Lord that I am going to the sea for the next 6 months. Please take care of my family when they are alone here, and take care of me when I am at the sea. And the moment the sailor finishes his prayers and is about to leave, he sees that there is a bunch of policemen who enter the temple, and this rich man has got the policemen into the temple. And the rich man is telling the police, you arrest this man. Please arrest this man. He has taken my wallet. Now, the rich man obviously doesn't know what has exactly happened, but he feels that this sailor has taken his wallet because he sees nobody else in the temple. Then he tells the police that, please arrest this guy. He has taken my wallet. Now, the moment the police go and arrest the sailor, there is a voice that they hear in the temple. There's no one in the temple. Now they hear a voice. The voice says, wait, this person is not the thief. This person is not the thief. The thief is the person who left before him. There was a guy who came before him. He took the wallet and has left. He is not the thief. Now the police are stunned. They know that there's no one in the temple and they can hear a voice. Now they feel that it is the Lord who is speaking himself. And if the Lord is speaking himself, they have nothing else but to listen to the Lord. And they leave the sailor. They leave the sailor and they go and arrest the poor man who had taken that wallet, and they put that poor man in jail. Now, the next day, the roles exchange. Okay. The day is over. The next day, the roles exchange. The Lord is back to the Lord, the original Lord, and the sweeper, the original sweeper, is doing the sweeping. Now, the sweeper is very happy because he has spent a very nice day. He has had good food, he's got good money, etc. Now the Lord appears to be very angry. The sweeper notices that, something is wrong. So the sweeper, tells the Lord that, how was your day yesterday? And the Lord says, don't talk to me because you have done a big wrong thing. So the sweeper says, what wrong did I do? I didn't do anything. I was standing in the same place. So the Lord tells him that I had told you not to talk, but still you spoke. So the sweeper says, but I said what is correct. I said what is correct. I told them that that poor man was the thief. What did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. I spoke the truth. So the Lord says that you were not supposed to speak because that was my plan. That was my plan. So the sweeper says, what do you mean by plan? So the Lord says the plan was that the poor man needed money, the rich man did not need the money. Okay. So I dropped his wallet so that the poor man can get the money that he needs because he had no money to run the house. The rich man has enough money, a few, rupees lost. He doesn't lose much. The poor man was happy. Now the sailor who came here, I wanted the sailor to be arrested because his ship was going to get caught in a storm and the ship and he was going to die in that storm because his ship was going to drown, and that's the reason I wanted him to go to jail so that he doesn't go into the ship and get drowned. Now what has happened is that the sailor didn't go to jail. He went to his ship. The ship hit a storm. The sailor died, and the poor man is in jail. So the plan that I had prepared has gone for a toss because you have messed it up. I had told you to remain silent. Do not interfere. I had told you not to interfere, but you have interfered. And that is the story. The moral of the story is do not interfere. And this is exactly what investors do. Investors watch the market and they interfere. They decide that, okay, the markets are down. I think I need to withdraw from the market. I can't bear this loss. I need to withdraw from the market. Now, here is an example that if somebody is investing in the market for the last 25 years, and I'm talking about Nifty 50 as an index, the Nifty 50 index, if you invested 1 lakh rupee in the market for the last 25 years, you would have made almost 16 and a half lakhs in that. If you see the first bar here, 16 and a half lakhs at about 12% per annum. But out of the 25 years, which is roughly around 6,000 trading days, you say that I missed the best 5 days. You remove the best 5 days from the market. The best 5 days is the days that you got the best returns. And you remove the best 5 days, you still invest in 5,995 days out of the 6,000 days. You just remove the best 5 days. Now, the best 5 days, if you remove, your returns drop from 12% to almost 10%, 2% drop in returns. But look at the amount that you lose. You lose almost 6 lakhs. Instead of 16 lakhs, you'll get only 10 lakhs. Now increase those 5 days to 10 days. If you miss the best 10 days, you end up getting almost half or less than half that month. Less than half that month. So even if you invest in 5,990 days out of the 6,000 days, lose just 10 days, but those 10 days are the best days in the market, you end up losing half your corpus. Now you will tell me that who will miss the best days? Why will anybody miss the best days? Everybody wants the best days. Why will you miss the best day? But remember, the best days are only during bear phases. Most of the best days are during bear phases. These are the 10 best days, and you can see that the 10 best days are during the bear phases. These are periods when the markets were down. So, and during when markets are down, we all prefer to be out of the market. And we miss the best 10 days, and that's the reason we end up getting no returns, lesser returns. So that's why we say that do not interfere with your investing. Let it continue. Let the market be the way it is. You continue with your investment. Do not interfere. Like the Lord says, if you interfere, you end up messing up with my plan. So that's the moral of the story. Let's go down to the second story. The second story is about cricket, and it's about 36 runs in cricket. So there is the story of three cricketers, three occasions in cricket when 36 runs were scored. The first occasion was in 1975. It was the one day World Cup in England, 1975 one day World Cup in England, when it was a 60 over World Cup. Now it is 50 overs per match. It was 60 overs, and a famous Indian batsman scored almost throughout the played 60 overs, played the entire 60 overs, and scored only 36 runs. Scored only 36 runs and hit just 1 4. The second instance is in 2007 in Durban, South Africa, in the 2020 World Cup, when one Indian cricketer scored 36 runs in an over. In just 1 over, he scored 36 runs. The first batsman in 1975 scored 36 runs in 60 overs. The second batsman in 2007 scored 36 runs in 1 over by hitting a six in every ball. And the third occasion when India scored 36 runs all out in 2020 Adelaide, Australia. So these are three occasions when India scored 36 runs. One was the slowest, the second was the fastest, and the third was when none of us played well. So in investing also, you will find that there are phases when things can go very, very slow. And the moral behind this story again is that the first batsman was one of the best batsmen that India could have got. One of the best batsmen that India could have got. The second batsman was also a very good batsman. And Indian team who scored 36 runs is today one of the best teams in the world, is the best team in the world. So you had two very good batsmen and the best team scoring 36 runs. And like I said, that similarly in the markets, you can have markets going very, very slow, like somebody scoring 36 runs in 60 overs. It can go very, very slow, or it can go very, very fast. All of us would like the market to go like this, right? So you can see that the Sensex has hit 10. How many days it has taken to make from 10,000 to 20,000, 20,000 to 30,000, 30,000 to 40,000, and it has crossed 85,000 last year. So how much time it has taken for each of these milestones. But while the direction is up, it has not been up all the time, right? It has fallen every time it has gone up. So we have to remember that, like cricket, you can go very fast, you can go very slow, or you can have everyone getting out in 36 runs, meaning that all your asset classes, whether it's gold, whether it's debt, whether it's equity, all of it can give you less returns at the same time. So if everything gives you less return at the same time, or the markets go very slow like they are doing now, do not get perturbed. Do not get anxious. Things will get better, because remember, like the batsmen, they are very good batsmen. Similarly, the market is directionally up, but it will have its falls every now and then. But over the history of the markets, it has gone up. Now it will take a pause, it will come down, but eventually at some point of time it will start going up. So we have to keep patience and wait for the markets to go up. The third story is about, and I repeat that if you have any questions, please feel free to put your questions in the chat, or please wait till the end. You can ask your questions also through your microphone. So either put it in chat, or use the microphone at the end of this webinar to ask questions. So the third story is about 5 grains of rice. Now this story is about three kids, three children, and the father was deciding that and the father was a businessman. The father was deciding as to which son should he appoint as his successor. Who is my successor? Now, how do I decide that? Because if I ask them that who will be my successor, everybody will raise their hand and say, I want to be your successor. So he decides to give them a test. Okay. He calls them in his room and says that here is 5 grains of rice. 5 grains of rice. Keep these 5 grains with you and come back after 5 years and tell me what you did with it. What you did with it. I want to see those, hear what you did with those 5 grains of rice. Okay. So, and keep those, rice grains very careful. That's all he says. And it's up to the kids to decide what they want to do. Now, the first kid feels that, oh, these are 5 grains of rice. Now, after 5 years, he's not going to remember which grains he has given me. He just throws it away and says that when he calls me after 5 years, I will pick another 5 grains of rice and I give him those 5 grains of rice and tell him that, this is what you had given me. He just wants to see that. So it's very simple. So the second son says that, oh, my father has given me 5 grains of rice. I think they are very, very important 5 grains of rice that he has given me. I need to keep them very, very careful because he said that keep them careful. So he takes a jewelry box, puts those 5 grains of rice in that jewelry box and puts it in his locker and says that now they are safe. After 5 years, I can open the locker and give him these 5 grains of rice and tell him these are the same 5 grains of rice that you have given. The third son thinks intelligent. He says that now my father has given these 5 grains of rice to me for some reason. And he decides to plant those 5 grains of rice. He plants those 5 grains of rice and realizes that in a few months, those 5 grains have become 100 grains. After he plants those 100 grains, they have become thousands. And in a year, they've become lakhs. And then he realizes that the land that he had used to plant those rice grains is overflowing. He has got enough and more rice. He has to buy more land. And in 5 years, he has so much of rice that he doesn't know what to do with it. Obviously, he sells that rice, but he has got enough and more of rice. Now, at the end of the 5 years, when the father calls the 3 sons, he finds it very easy to decide that it is the third son to whom I am going to give my business because he thought exactly the way the father wanted the kids to think. He wanted the sons to grow his business. And this is exactly how the third son had done. Similarly, in investing, if there were 3 sons who put their money in a SIP, now the first son puts the money in a SIP at the age of 45, as you can see in the first column. From 45 years to 60 years, if the son wants to save for his retirement, he gets 15 years to save and he starts with an amount of 20,000 rupees and it gets a corpus of 1.65 crore by investing 12% per annum because he invests in an equity fund. And if that equity fund gives 12% per annum, he increases that amount of 20,000 rupees every year by 10%. Every year by 10%. And he manages to raise a corpus of 1.65 crore in 15 years. The second son starts a little early and at the age of 35 years gets 25 years to invest, saves half of the third son, saves 10,000 rupees, and raises a corpus of almost 4 crores. So by investing 10,000 rupees at 12% in an equity fund and increasing the money by 10% every year, he gets a corpus of 4 crores at the end of 25 years. The third son starts at the age of 25. Third son starts at the age of 25. Invest just 5,000 rupees a month. 5,000 rupees a month for 35 years by increasing 10% every year in an equity fund which is likely to give 12%, that son gets a corpus of 8 crores. 8 crores. Imagine 5,000 rupees a month giving you 8 crores and 20,000 rupees a month giving you just 1.65. That is called the magic of compounding. Because the longer you invest, the amount doesn't matter. How long you invest matter rather than how much you invest. So be like the third son. Start early. Put in small amounts of money and see that your corpus grows over a period of time. And then you'll realize that the power of compound. Your investment has to be for longer periods of time without interference, like we said in the first one. Without interference, invest for longer periods of time and see your money grow. That's the way one should invest. Here is the fourth story, and it's about friends meeting their professor. So, after finishing college, after many years, they are alumni, and one of their professors is retiring, so has retired from the college. And the professor calls them to his house for a cup of coffee. And when they reach his house, they meet many of these friends for the first time after leaving their college. And they talk about, their life, their family, their office, and all of that. And initially, they talk about the good things, and after that, they talk about the bad things. They start complaining either about their office or about their, the problems that they face in their family or some other problems that they have in their life. And that conversation happens. Now the professor says that I've called you for coffee, and he gets them coffee in a tray which has got many cups. Now those cups are not ordinary cups. Those cups are different types of cups, from simple cups to very fancy cups, very expensive cups, to very designer cups. So some cups are very designer, and some cups are very simple, from simple crockery to different colors and shapes and forms and all of that. Now the students are excited to see the cups, the different types of cups, and all of them end up picking some of the most fancy cups. The simple cups nobody takes. The fancy cups everybody picks up. And the professor notices this and tells them that, you know what? Did you notice that you guys picked up the most fancy cups? But let me tell you one thing, that these fancy cups are not going to change the taste of your coffee. The coffee is going to remain the same. Why are you using the cup? The cup is just holding the coffee, right? In fact, some of you may not be able to see the coffee as well when you see the cup, but the cup is there only to hold the coffee. Whichever cup you take, the coffee is going to remain the same. What you have to taste is the coffee, and but you have still picked up the cup. It is all right to pick up the best cup. Similarly, in life, it's all good to say that I want the best things in life. But remember that when you choose the best things in life, you should remember that you have a good job, you have a good house, you have a good salary. All that is the cup. But your life and the way you spend your life is the cup. Now, what you should focus on is how you spend your life, and not on the cup, which is your well-being, etc. So that example he gives to them to say that remember that in life you have to taste or focus on the coffee and not on the cup. And he tells them that the happiest people don't have the best of everything, they just make the best of everything. So that's how he wanted people, to behave. But when it comes to investing, it's very similar. It's very similar. We also want the best cups, meaning we want the funds which give us the best returns. We want the investment which gives us the best returns. All of us wanted to invest in gold last year. All of us wanted to invest in silver last year. Whichever is the best performing asset class, all of us want to invest in that. Now, this is a table which tells you the best performing large cap funds in the last 10 years. Best performing large cap funds in the last 10 years. And I've taken only funds which have got, a 10-year track record. And I found that there is no single fund that was the best performing fund year after year. 2016, Fund F, I can't give names, but Fund F was the best performing fund. Now that fund became fund number 9, rank number 9. Fund D was the best performing fund in 2017. Now look at the performance in 2018. The fund became rank number 10. Fund A is best performing in 2018. It is the best performing in 2019. But look at the performance of that same fund in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. It is all in 15 to 20 ranks. So the fund performance has fallen. So none of these funds have given the best performance year on year. So what you should do is you should not look at maximum performance. You should look at optimal performance. Which fund can give you reasonably good returns year on year, rather than looking at which is the best performing fund. So look at not the cup, but the coffee. What is the coffee? The coffee is your goals. Are you able to meet your goals with these funds, with these investments? If you are able to meet your goals, be happy about it. Don't keep changing the funds and run after the funds which give the best performance, because that can keep changing. Now you can see here that over the last 10 years, none of these funds have given the best performing performance year on year. The performance has kept changing. So that's very important for you. Similarly, if you look at any asset class, whether it's equity, whether it's gold, they don't do well every year. Now, this year, gold has done well, but did it do well in 24? No. Did it do well in 22? No. In the last, from 2000, in the last 20 years, gold has done well in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. 8 out of 20 years. In the other 12 years, it has largely been equity that has done well. Now, within equities also, it is not always large cap. It is not always mid cap. It is not always small cap. There can be different funds that do well. So one has to invest in a mix of investing. You have to invest a little bit in gold, little bit in equity, little bit in real estate, little bit in international stocks or international equities. Even within equities, you should invest a little bit in large cap, mid cap, small cap, so that all of them put together will give you better performance. Similarly, international investing is also very important, because India is only 3% of global GDP. If you look at this, you realize that when India doesn't do well, the US usually does well. So you should have a mix of developed and developing markets. So typically, US is a good investment to look at. Invest some money in US funds. US funds are available in India. They are available in GIFT City. So you should invest some of your money in international equity wherever possible. And the biggest challenge to get returns is not the market volatility. It's your behavior. So you behave well, the investment will also behave well. Now, this is one of my favorite stories. What's going to change? Now, there is a founder of a very famous global company, and he's a very tech driven person. And he always gets this question in his press meets: what's going to change in the next 10 years? What's the new technology? What are you going to do? All that. But he stays silent and says that I am not bothered about what's going to change in the next 10 years. He runs an online platform. He says that I look at what's not going to change in the next 10 years. That is my strategy. What's not going to change? I don't look at what's going to change. And for me, what's not going to change is the behavior of my customers. I want to give them the best variety of goods on my online platform. I want to give them fast service. I want them to get whatever they want very quickly. And I want to give them the best quality of the goods that they buy. So I want to give them best quality, I want to give them best variety, and I want to give them the best timing for getting that product. This is what I'm going to look at. This is what my customers were looking at 10 years ago. This is what my customers are looking at now. And this is what my customers will look at 10 years from now. This is not going to change, and my strategy is going to remain like that. Even in investing, certain things are not going to change. We saw that, the three sons example. There are two friends who decided to start investing. Now, Renu invested at the age of 25, 5,000 rupees. Megha invested at the age of 45, 15,000 rupees. Both of them collected the same principle of 18 lakhs of rupees, 5,000 rupees in a SIP, which gave them 12% per annum. They had a principal of 18 lakhs both. But look at the amount. Renu was able to collect almost 2 crores in 30 years. 25 years she started, 55 years she closed, and she was able to collect almost 2 crores. Megha invested only for 10 years, but she was able to collect only 35 lakhs despite investing 15,000. So, what is important? It does not matter how much you invest, how long you invest is what matters. So, invest small, but invest for a very long period so that you can gather more wealth. And this is not, I'm not putting it on screen. You can test this number out in Excel, etc. And you realize that the power of compounding is very, very powerful. Similarly, if you want to say gather a corpus of 5 crore when you retire, you may say that 5 crore is very big. But if I start at the age of 25 and invest 7,700 rupees in an equity fund, which is likely to give, say, 12% per annum, I can get to the corpus of 5 crore in 35 years. You can do the math. In 35 years, you can get to the corpus of 5 crore. But if you miss 25 years and start at 30, you need to double that investment. Instead of 7,700, you need to invest 14,000 rupees. If you miss 30 years and go to 35 years and start at 35, you need to double that from 14 to 26,000. So every 5 years of delay, you are investing more money to get 5 crore. So even at 45 years, you can get to 5 crore. Even at 45 years, you may get to 5 crore, provided your fund gives you 12% return. But you need to invest 1 lakh a month. 1 lakh a month. Now, where is 7,700 per month and where is 1 lakh a month? So it depends on when you start. The earlier you start, the bigger the cost. So that's very, very important. And here's, a SIP of 10,000 rupees that you start in, and look at the way it has gone up in 30 years. In 30 years, this SIP in the Nifty 50 has given you 36 lakhs in principal, has given you almost 3 crore as the corpus. Now, this has given you 3 crore as the corpus, but if you had stepped it up by 10% every year, now stepping up is also important. Not just SIP, you step it up. Say that I'll invest 10% more every year. Now look at the corpus. From 3 crore, your corpus has gone to 7.5 crore. So you've gathered almost 4 crore extra by investing 10% more every year for long periods of time. So you can gather more provided you are consistent and provided you are able to stay invested for longer periods of time. And this is what I mean by the power of compounding. Smaller periods, you can see that the green bar is the principal. The green bar is the principal. The dark blue bar is the returns. Now, the returns that you get from your total amount. So, in 30 years, almost 90% of the corpus is coming from returns, and only 12% is the principal. The total 7 crore that you just saw, 7.5 crore you just saw, 90% of that is your principal, is your returns, and only 12% is your corpus. So the longer you invest, most of the corpus that you have will be generated from your return. That is called the power of compound. So you have to allow your money to compound. And the longer you invest, the better will be, the way it will compound. Now, in today's situation, we say that SIPs are giving negative return because the markets have fallen because of the war. Now, here are three examples. The last one is the correct one. I'm saying that in 2008, when there was a global financial crisis, SIPs of 10,000 rupees had given negative return. So the value of my corpus from principal of 1.2 lakhs, 10,000 rupees a month, had dropped to 84,000 rupees. Similarly, in 2020, when COVID happened, my corpus had dropped to 89,000. So I was in a loss. My SIPs were in a loss. But what happened if I stayed invested for 1 year after that? 1 year after that, I saw that my corpus started getting positive. Now, those negative returns were there only for 1 year. After the GFC, after COVID, they were there only for 1 year. I stayed invested for 5 years. I got more than my principal. I stayed invested for 5 years, 10 years. I got double of my principal. So it is important that all of us stay invested for longer periods of time to wipe out the negative returns. Even now, we are seeing negative returns. But if you stay invested for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, you will see that your corpus will be able to and will have the potential to generate more positive returns. So we come to the story called the leap of faith. There's a young gentleman with uh, there's a young gentleman. Give me 5 minutes and I should finish this presentation. Uh, there's a young gentleman who, is stuck in a desert. There is no water. He's very thirsty. Feels that I'm going to die. And he suddenly sees a small hut where there is a hand pump. And when he goes to the hut and presses the hand pump, there is no water coming out from that hand pump. No water. He says, okay, no water. Let me die. But he sees a small bottle near in the hut. And on the bottle, it is written that put this water, there's little water in the bottle, put this water in the hand pump and the hand pump will, start gushing water. Now he doesn't know whether to believe what is written or to drink that water. Because if he puts the water in the hand pump and the hand pump doesn't give you water, then he will die anyway. But he still trusts that what is written on the bottle and takes the water, puts it in the hand pump, and then presses the hand pump. And the hand pump gives him all the water that he needs. So he says that, but when he leaves, he decides to put a message on the bottle which says, believe me, it works. Because if somebody comes after him and he sees the bottle, he's going to drink that water. Instead of that, he writes that, believe me that this, whatever is written on the bottle is true. Put this water in the hand pump and the hand pump will give you lots of water. Similarly, when people invest in the equity market, they do not have proof that the equity markets have done well because there is no investor or very few investors who have invested for 30 years. Now, in 30 years, the Sensex has given 46 times returns. 46 times. 1 lakh becomes 46 lakhs. Gold has given only 26 times the returns. It has only given good return now, but over longer periods of time, it has always been equity. But there is no one to tell that message to say, believe me, it works. Put money in equity. Believe me, it works. There is no one. That's the reason we find that where all of us invest less money in equity. We put money in property, gold, and bank deposits. 80% of our money is in property, gold, and bank deposits. And what we fear is the market downside. But if you look at 25 years of market performance, 25 years, this is from 2001 to 2025, 25 years, only four times has the market given negative returns. And we say that markets will fall. But only four times market has given negative return. And we fear the market fall. And we do not invest when the markets go down. So in COVID, we didn't invest. As you can see, there's one point here that we did not invest. So the moral of the story is that believe me, it works is something, is the message that we should spread, that I have invested in equities. Believe me, it works. Now, the last story, and a good story to listen, and you can even put something in the chat. Why does a car need brakes? If you know the answer, why does a car need brakes? Put it in the chat and we can discuss it when we do the questioning. Why does a car need brakes? Now, you may think that a car needs brakes because it can it can brake, it can stop, it can avoid accidents for safety and all those reasons. But a car needs brakes to run fast. That is the reason. A car needs brakes to run fast. Think about it. If I tell you that my car doesn't have brakes, you will not drive my car. You will not drive my car. And if I tell you my car has brakes, you will drive the car as fast as you want. So the best brakes are in a racer car. The best brakes are in a racer car. So, and the markets also have brakes, right? The markets also have brakes. Why do the market have brakes? What do you mean by brakes? Brakes are when the markets fall. Now you can see several occasions, including wars, when the markets have fallen. These are the brakes of the market. Now, when I said that, why does a car need brakes? To go fast. Similarly, why does the market need brakes? Again, to go fast. Now, after these brakes were applied, look at the returns that the markets have given 1, 3, 5 years after the fall. They have gone fast. Look at the returns. Now, these are all the periods, and you can see none of the returns look bad. None of the returns look bad. All are positive, no returns are negative. And the question marks that I've put where we don't have the answers as of now, but I don't think those numbers will be different from what you see on the screen. So most of the periods, if you hold the money for even after a fall, the markets have given good returns. So the markets need a break so that they can run fast. And asset allocation that we do, we invest in gold, silver, real estate, equity, debt, everything is also a form of a break. And I stop here, and here is a summary for you to digest. But I'm open for any questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, so now I would request attendees to ask their questions in Q&A so that sir can address those questions as we have 10 minutes in our hands. So, yes. Until the time, sir, attendees ask their question, I would request you to touch upon the key takeaways or the session highlights, which you feel are the most important points, something like that.
Yeah. So, for first-time investors, I would just suggest that you should start investing in the equity markets. It's a great time to start investing, and put put whatever money you feel you will not need for the next 10 years, at least 10 years, and see how you can participate in India's growth story. Because if I look at some of the successful companies today, and you want to participate in the growth of those companies, the best way to participate in the growth of those successful companies is through equities. And with growing in expenses are rising, our aspirations are rising, our goals are very expensive, right? Your child's education or marriage or buying a house or all any other goal that you may have, the costs are very high. So it's very important to invest in instruments that are if you are where you are able to meet those goals, and equities help you meet some of those goals by beating inflation comfortably. And like I said, it helps you participate in the growth of India and also in some of the good companies that India has.
So there is one question from anonymous attendee.
Mhm.
That is that how worthy are the insurance investment savings or policies, and what are the pros and cons if we compare them to SIP?
So I would theoretically say that SIPs help you to invest, and insurance helps you to de-risk your either it's your life or your property or your health. So you should try and use both of them separately. So insurance is to de-risk and investment is to meet your goals. So mutual funds help you to meet your goals, and insurance is helping you to de-risk. So basically, they are two separate, uh, you know, they have two separate objectives. So I don't think I would want to mix those two objectives, because one is insurance and one is investing. So investing is to meet all your goals, and insurance is to de-risk. If something happens to you, then you get life insurance. If something happens to your property, then the insurance company pays for the losses. Something happens to your health, then the insurance company helps you take care of hospitalization, etc. That's how you should look at it. And these are, if you have an education goal, meet your sons or daughters future education or their marriage, or you want to buy a house, these are some goals uh, where you should invest in SIP.
Thank you so much, sir. Also, I can see one question related to the PPT that can you share? So we don't provide an actual presentation, but we do provide the recording of this webinar. So you can visit NISM Investor Education Webinar YouTube channel as well as NISM website for the recording of this session. So let me see if we have another question or not. So there is one question from Ramaswamy, and he's asking that, so can you please throw light between debt and equity, return and risk trade-off, when to park the funds in which scheme, equity or debt?
So very good question. So equity, if you have a goal which is definitely more than 5 to 7 years, if your goal is more than 5 to 7 years away, then equity makes sense, because equities are volatile. You should not look at equity from a 1 3 type of a short term perspective. Equities are typically preferred for 5 7 year goals, long term goals. And for all other goals, you can invest in debt or hybrids. So if you have a goal which is, parking money, you just need to park your money like a savings bank account, then you can look at debt funds like liquid funds, money market funds, low duration funds. There are very short term funds. And you can even look at debt funds for a 1 year type of horizon, or even a 3 year type of a horizon. So anything less than 3 years, you can look at debt funds. You can even look at hybrid funds, which are a mix of equity and debt for investments which are in the 3 to 5 year range. So, but equity is preferred for anything beyond 5 years, hybrid for anything between 3 to 5 years, and debt for anything between 1 day to almost 3 years. So that's how you should time it.
Thank you, sir. So let's move to our next question. Uh, So there is one question from Arun, and he's asking that is it good to take a trail commission on own investment through another broker?
Uh, Actually, pass on is not allowed as per regulation. We cannot pass on, anything.
Okay, sir. Also, I can see Ramaswamy is thanking you, sir, for the answer.
Most welcome, sir.
Sir, Ranjit is asking to share some insights about bonds.
So, bonds, if I would say that between mutual funds and bonds, uh, bonds is like a boutique, where you get only one brand, one bond. You may say a bond of a corporate, bond of a bank, or bond of the government. So there are these type of bonds, but you need to choose. You need to decide which bond do you want to buy. But a mutual fund, a debt mutual funds chooses those bonds for you. I choose the bonds. I say that, okay, this is a good bond. This is a good corporate bond. This is a good bond from a bank. This is a good bond from the government. And after 6 months, I may say that, oh, I need to make some changes in these bonds. So I may sell old bonds and buy new bonds. So when I look at bonds, I would say that if you understand bonds, then you can go ahead and buy individually and manage your portfolio. Because they bonds are what? Bonds are instruments that give you a fixed amount of interest, and they have a rating. It tells you that what is the risk of those bonds, what is the probability of getting those returns on time. So there is these rating agencies will give ratings on those bonds. So you have the best bonds and you may have not so good bonds. But when it comes to mutual funds, the mutual fund team decides that which are the good bonds that I can give my investor. So they choose the bonds for you, and somebody who doesn't understand bonds should look at debt mutual, which also invest in bonds.
Thank you, sir. So there is one question from Ram, and he's asking means for the suggestion of some books on storytelling, psychology, and market volatility, data, and history, which you feel are good to read.
Yeah, so I have, my favorite, like I said, author is Morgan Housel, and Psychology of Money is a good book that you can start with. It's a very simple book, and it gives you all the knowledge that you need about investing and the behavior that is needed in investing.
Okay, thank you, sir. So let's see. I think we can take few couple of questions, and then I think we can conclude the session. Let me see. There are few questions, but which I feel are not really relevant to the topic, so we are not picking those questions. Mhm. Yes, sir, I think we can conclude the session as you have answered all of the questions which are relevant, which were relevant to the topic. So yes,
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and thank you, NISM, for inviting me over. And all the very best to investors. Happy investing.
yes, thank you so much, sir. I would also means like to appreciate your session, means the value which you have provided to the attendees and the knowledge which you have shared with us, and so also your time as well. And also thank you to all the attendees who joined and asked their questions in Q&A and all. So yes, thank you once again to all the people who joined today's webinar. So thank you so much, sir, again. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining today's webinar. Now I request IT team to close the session.